Hi guys. I haven't made a video in a while, and actually I haven't been playing that much on Tranquility recently because I've been preparing for the Alliance tournament, and that's something which takes a lot of effort in terms of theory crafting and testing, so I haven't really had that much energy to play normally on TQ that much. But I want to keep making videos and putting content out there, so I did play a little bit yesterday, and I thought I'd show a good fight I had recently in my kiting rail comet. And a lot of people have asked me about the Comet recently, so I hope this will show how I like to fly it and how I approach fights when I'm outnumbered against other gangs in a kiting frigate like this. So this was a pretty good fight. I was able to walk away with 3 kills. It could easily have been 4 kills, but I made a few mistakes towards the end. This happened at Eve University's low-sec campus here in Uppelant. And this is the place I like to roam because there's usually several of them in local, and they're usually willing to fight, and they're good people. So before I started recording, I was sitting in a medium plex within D-scan range of their home station, hoping that they would come to fight me. And I was pretty much the only person in local who was not within their corp, so it was going to be very obvious to them who I was and where I was and that I would most likely be willing to fight them. And so it took a little while, but as soon as they saw me, they started forming up and then brought in the gang to fight me. So what happened was that the Cormorant here came in first. When the Cormorant came into the Plex, I immediately looked at his ship and saw that he had 150 T2 railguns and a sensor booster running. So that means it's very obvious that he's in the Sniper Cormorant fit. So the first thing that I know and kind of what influences how I fly in this fight is that I know that I cannot get within about 90 kilometers of him, or he can start to do some serious damage to me with spike ammo. And that's why I kind of what I kind of did there was that I just burned outside of his range, and just sort of waited there, hoping that he would try to get some of his friends to come and fast tackle and try to fight me. And that's kind of that's kind of what happened here. Eventually, a bunch of other frigates came in. There's a Tristan, there's a Comet, and there's a Slasher. And this is where the fight really started to develop. And this is when I started recording. So let's start running the video here. So any one of these frigates I can most likely fight. I really just want to separate them away from the Cormorant and just kill all the fast tackle. The closest ship to me right now is the Tristan. He's fit with a Microwarpdrive and he's burning straight towards me. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm allowing him to get closer to me. I'm kind of flying it myself in a sort of an S pattern in front of him. That allows him to slowly close range against me in a very controlled manner, and it allows me to keep away from the Cormorant as well. So I want the Tristan to see that he's getting closer and closer and closer to me because his ship is actually a lot slower than mine, and if he's not closing range against me, I'm kind of concerned that he'll just abandon the fight and warp off. So I bring him into about 30 kilometers and then I start shooting him. The optimal range on my Comet with Thorium ammo is about 27, so I want to keep range between about 20 and 25k. And he's fit as a long-range kiting Tristan, which is common in low sec, but they don't tank very well. So I mean, he goes down very, very quickly. And there's my first kill. But in the process of that fight, you can see I got within about 70k of the Cormorant, and this is a range at which he's able to hit me. So he locks me up and starts shooting me, so I have to burn away from him again. But so far, so good. So now I'm kind of looking for my next target here. I see that the Comet is fit with an afterburner, so that's not ideal because he's not going to separate himself from the rest of his gang very quickly, and also afterburner fit frigates are much more difficult for a kiting ship like mine to kill, because typically when ships are fit with an afterburner, they're able to fit more of a tank because afterburners take much less fitting than microwarp and also they're able to sort of signature tank with their afterburner. So it would be somewhat difficult for me to take down this Comet. But I'm looking right now at the Slasher. The Slasher is moving at a little more than 3 kilometers per second, so he's clearly fit with a microwarp drive. He's probably fit for fast tackle, and he's coming just straight for me, much like that Tristan was earlier. So I kind of approach this in a very similar way. I want him to slowly get into my range. I want him to see that he's gaining on me so that he doesn't get discouraged. Because my ship is actually much, much faster than his, my Comet actually moves at about 4 kilometers per second. So if I burn straight away from him, he won't be able to close in. And if somebody sees that they're slower than you, they're more likely to get discouraged and just sort of give up. So I want him to see that he's getting closer to me. And then now he's very, very separated from the rest of his gang, so now I can just go for it. I dropped warriors against this slasher because sometimes slashers are armor fit with the tracking disruptor, and I thought that the faster speed of the drones would apply damage to him a little bit better, but it did turn out that he was just normal shield fit, so it's not ideal to be using warriors, but it really didn't matter that much in the outcome, because most of my damage comes from my guns anyway. So here I'm just sort of manually piloting myself in a circle below him, and that allows me to maintain my range and keep him outside of his tackle range. So that was a very simple kill. He didn't even lock me up, actually, if you noticed. But now I'm feeling pretty good about this, so, and I'm starting to look for my next kill here, and I'm a little bit worried because I'm like 200 kilometers away from everything else, so I'm a bit worried that they might just all give up on trying to kill me and just warp off. So I want to close range on them a little bit, but again I have to stay about 100k from this cormorant. And I noticed here that this Thrasher came in late. He came in a little bit later than the rest of his gang, and he's still near the warp and beacon, and he's separated. And he's probably my next best target because this Comet is kind of sitting near this Blackbird and this cormorant, and I can't get near the cormorant, and I can't get near the Blackbird because the Blackbird could easily permajam me. So I need to kind of burn around them and try to get within range of this Thrasher. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And again, the Comet is a very, very fast ship. I only have a single nanofiber, and I'm using only very basic speed implants, so 3% navigation and Azores. And even with those, it goes more than 4,000 meters per second, which is just great. It's much, much faster than, well, not much faster, but it's a little bit faster than like even a slicer now, especially because it can fit a T2 microwarp drive, which gives a speed bonus now ever since rebalance. So as soon as I got within 100k of the Thrasher, if you see here, I looked at his ship just to see how he's fit, because if he's an artillery Thrasher, then I can't find him. Because he'll be able to out-damage and out-tank me at my optimal range. And anytime that someone's better, like in terms of DPS or tank than you at the range that you want to fight at, that's just something that you shouldn't fight. But it turned out he was autocannon fit, so it's still a go if I can separate it from him from his gang. But the whole time I was spurting in towards the Thrasher, the Cormorant was, unfortunately, he was also approaching the beacon, and now he's like almost right on top of the Thrasher. So I can't really fight the Thrasher like this. I had to burn myself back out of range, if you saw there. So unfortunately, it's a little bit discouraging. I can't really engage anything that's on grid right now. But that's okay. Sometimes it pays off to be patient. So I decided to just cruise around here and stay outside of the danger zone of the Blackbird and the Cormorant, I guess, but try to stay close enough to keep them interested, because now the Cormorant kind of is moving a little bit away from me and the Thrasher is coming in still, so I'm kind of at the moment hoping to separate this Thrasher so that I can engage him. But yeah, I like the Comet a lot. I don't think it's as good as a slicer, as a pure kiting ship, because the big problem it has is that it actually has to reload its guns while a slicer does not, which you'll see kind of affects one of the fights I have a little bit later. And it depends a little bit on drones for DPS, which people tend to kill pretty often, which is a bit annoying. And also it doesn't track as well as pulse lasers do, so it doesn't apply a damage quite as well as the slicer does. But the advantage that the Comet has is that not many people fly it as a kiting ship in the way that I do, so it's a little bit less expected. And I think I'm able to get more fights that I otherwise wouldn't that way. But now, what happened just now is that the slasher pilot that I killed a couple minutes ago had reshipped into another slasher and came in to fight me. And what I did right there is, since I'm not doing anything else in particular, is I looked at the Comet ship to see how he's fit, because I wasn't sure whether he was rail or blaster, but I could see just by looking at his ship there that he's a blaster Comet. And it's better. A blaster Comet is better for me because they're not able to project damage to me. So fighting a rail Comet would be a bit more difficult because they'd actually be able to trade DPS with me at my optimal range. So it's much less likely that I'd be able to kill a rail Comet. But a blaster Comet is perfectly fine because I can kite him pretty easily because he's afterburner fit, and I can and he won't be able to do any damage to me at my optimal range. But kind of the same story here. The slasher is just burning straight towards me, and I wanted to separate him away from the cormorant and from the blackbird. So I'm kind of maneuvering myself in an S pattern again, allowing him to close range. And once he's, my plan is once he's separated himself away from this Comet, I'll engage him. So it's getting closer and closer. And now he's separated himself from the Comet, and he's in my lock range, so I just go for it. So I start shooting him when he's in about 30k away from me. And here I'm just manually piloting myself in a nice circle in the plane below him. And because he's using approach to try to hit me, this will prevent him from catching me. In Chester's videos, he calls this technique feathering. And if you notice, I waited until he was in low shields to point him. And the reason I did that is because the Comet is actually not cap stable with its gun, microwarpdrive, and point running. So there's no reason to, if you don't need to prevent somebody from warping away at that very moment, you don't need to point them. So I secured that kill, and now I noticed that whole time that Comet was burning in towards me. And he's also separated from the rest of his gang right now. Now this is a perfect time to engage the Comet. And he's afterburner fit, if you remember. So there's really no way that he's going to be able to tackle me unless I make a pretty big mistake. But you'll see here, afterburner fit ships are much more difficult to take down. So I'm already expecting this fight to take a while. And what I'm trying to do, I think the best way to fight other afterburner fit ships is to try to, it's actually not that different from fighting microwarpdrive ships, but I'm trying to manually pilot myself in a tight circle on the plane below him. I think this is the best way to minimize your transversal, keep the range that you want to be at within your optimal range, and also keep your speed up, because in this case I need to keep my speed up in order to help avoid damage from his drones, and it helps in that case if I keep my microwarpdrive running. I think there's an argument to be made in favor of pulsing your microwarpdrive, because you don't need to perma-run it in order to kite him, because you're much faster than he is. And that would help conserve cap. I think that's also fine, but I'm more comfortable just piloting this way. So I'm just trying to stay outside of his range. He unfortunately killed my drones, which is kind of what I would... it's not a big surprise because he's a blaster fit ship, so he's not really able to shoot at anything else apart from my drones. I decided to just let him do it because I didn't really care that much, and I have a spare set. So once he finished off my drones, I just dropped my Acolytes and put them on him. And here's one disadvantage of the Comet. I had to actually stop and reload my guns mid-fight because I didn't have enough ammo to take him down in one reload. And probably my biggest mistake here, apart from piloting mistakes, is that I didn't carry that much thorium ammo with me. I don't really expect fights to last this long, typically, so I'm a bit stingy in the amount of ammo I bring in my cargo holds. But I only had an extra half load of thorium ammo left to fight this Comet, which is unfortunate because I think I probably could have killed him. Otherwise, you can see here he's almost through his armor. But unfortunately, once I run out of thorium here, I'm kind of done. There's not much I can do about it. I maybe could have like just reloaded antimatter at the moment at this time, since he was almost dead anyway, and just dove on top of him. But that probably would have worked out okay, but whatever. It's fine. It was a good fight. So hope that was informative, and hope that you learned something from it. I'll try to make more videos similar to this, where maybe I'll just take one fight and give some commentary and some analysis. But otherwise, I'm going to be busy for the next couple of months preparing for the AT. So the amount of content I release is inevitably going to decrease. But hope you enjoyed it.